Hello, everybody. We'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mike and Bradley Sports Scene here on Bledsoe Telecom Cooperative Channel 18, also simulcast on WAT AM 1110, Pikeville, Tennessee. And of course, we're unfortunately unable to do a show last month because of commitments. So, but unfortunately, we are here today to discuss what is happening here. We're going to discuss high school sports, the NCAA tournament, basketball, baseball. Well, whatever comes to mind, what is particular at this moment. And with me is Bradley Hargis. Bradley, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you, Mike.
You didn't bring your cat as a guest?
No, I didn't bring the cat. You always bring up my cat.
Yeah, well.
We're talking sports today.
Well,
we're going to leave my cat out of it.
Okay. I think it's important because you love that cat so much, Bradley. And
I can't stand that cat.
Yeah,
to be honest with you, he can't stand me. It's a mutual. It's a hate relationship. But I'm trying to give him away, but my wife won't let me.
Well, shame. Oh well, we'll go to sports now. Of course, high school spring sports is in full gear. The spring sports is softball and baseball, we do want to let you know that the high school is selling these poster boards, much like these, for the high school seniors, and they would like very much to buy one. Just to honor those seniors here, including many who are athletes on our teams here. We do have some good news, is that Amarillo did play in the softball game last Friday against Brainerd, a 13-0 wipeout of the Lady Panthers. Yeah, I was thinking about Watertown there for a second, so I was trying to get.
I didn't know if you was doing that or if you was pulling a Porky Pig over here on me. I didn't know.
It's all, folks.
So I thought I'd help you out a little bit. Yeah, the Brainerd Panthers.
The Lady Panthers, of course, came to Pikeville 13-0 the night after Bledsoe County got wiped out by the number one team in the private schools, Silverdale Academy, and in which they proved that they are truly the number one team in the private school class. They're defending state champions, as you well know. Yeah. But the girls, well, they did very well against that game. They have another game to play Thursday night. They're hosting Sequatchie County. And Bradley, their softball stadium, much improved, redone, the whole thing, more seating, restrooms, concession stands, the whole smack. I don't know if you've been down there and seen it, but it's very beautiful.
It is. They've really done a lot of good work there. I mean, the fencing is better. I mean, the seating, the concession stand, everything has been upgraded, and it's good. It's good for the girls because they had past couple of years. Well, actually, even before then, past several years, they've been very successful. And to finally see that's kind of a reward for them because the players and the team can look at that and say, okay, the community and the school system is finally on board, with this, and that was far overdue what they did down there. For that field, that should have been done years ago. But it is what it is. But they are certainly doing good this year, and actually number one in the district right now.
Absolutely, there's
still a few games left to play, even some makeup games is left to play.
Absolutely. Of course, their locker room's first rate. They got a first-rate locker room, which is really something great for the girls to indicate how well they have accomplished this year. And of course, their senior night will be in early May, just before graduation, and then of course have the district tournament. We don't know where that's going to be at yet, but anyway, right now Bledsoe County, well, maybe the record doesn't show what they had last year at this time, but still they played some tough opposition, and really is that these girls have put it out on the field out there for well good.
That's what happens when you start winning a lot of ball games. I mean, a couple of their losses came in, or actually three of the losses came in that Warner Park Dixon Wildcat Classic, but they're undefeated in the district right now.
Right.
Again, there's some of those games that have to be made up.
Right.
And when you're winning games, you go undefeated in the season and are pegged to do the same thing this year. A lot of the teams in your off schedule outside of the region don't want to play you, so you have to start scheduling up. Which is case in point, when you've got Chattanooga Christian, whom we beat the first game of the season. And then lost to them, on April 1st, on April Fools. Right. And then that's a private school. And then you play the private school of Silverdale as number one in the state, defending champions, and they win. So you have to up your ante on the opposition because the other smaller teams won't play you. and we've seen that not only in softball but in football and other sports. So to be sitting at 7-5 right now, and again, that is counting the tournament at Warner Park that don't really matter. That's pretty good.
You know, the thing about it is, Johnny Mays used to have a saying that the higher you up on the flagpole, the more the wind blows. Mm-hmm. And that's the way it is. But you have to remember right now is that, of course, Bledsoe has to go play Silverdale at Silverdale later this season, so there's a chance for a little redemption there. But, you know, with Silverdale, I never seen such pitching in my life. One of their pitchers going to Michigan State. Mm-hmm. One player's going to Kentucky, another one's going to Western Kentucky. That's talent there. That's talent right there. You get recruited by those big schools. That's something right there.
Yeah.
And you know, the girls here at Bledsoe County, they're doing a bang up job, and they are proving it. And they're still going to have a loaded team next year because those freshmen are coming in. Ava Reel has come in and done utility room.
Well, you know that with a softball the way it is, I mean, of course, that's in every sport across the board. Mm-hmm. Those when TWSAA had that split, private and public split, now they can recruit themselves.
Yeah.
So you have the schools like Silverdale, Notre Dame, Chattanooga Christian, McCallie, Baylor. They're all in the same, you know, under the same rules now. Yeah. They can go out and lobby and bring people in and offer scholarships to pay their tuition to their private school. Uh-huh. You know, and then I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Yeah. I mean, if they're doing it legally now because they made that split, made that decision. You know, so when you're able to do that and you're able to go out into the surrounding area and bring people in, you can build an outstanding ball club.
Absolutely.
And Silverdale's done that. Chattanooga Christian has done that. You know, with soccer, specifically with soccer, softball. Oh. I mean, they are pulling a lot of talent in, and are excelling greatly. You look at teams like Bledsoe County, Sequatchie County, and smaller, you know, schools like that, who are playing with people who are from here, and still having success, and still able to compete with teams at that level, and that speaks volumes for the caliber of players and the coaching system that we have in Bledsoe County.
Plus the facilities. Upgrade of facilities. You just said it was long overdue for the girls softball team. The boys baseball team, now they're maybe not doing as good, but still they are still going in there and still slugging away at it. I mean, if you look at this, you look at this 10 years ago, you can go by those things. You can see that the baseball field was just ratty looking. The softball field was just barely starting. The football stadium needed a lot of improvement. And now you look at it 10 years later, you see all these improvements. And and you know, and that's what makes it all. And you know, you bring in the good coaching staffs. You look at Coach Tabor at football. 5 seasons, 5 winning campaigns, has won 42 games in 5 years. Mm-hmm. The baseball team, though still improving, still getting better. The softball team has shot up into the stratosphere. You look at all those things, and you know, the fact of the matter is that you're still going to have a number of games left to play, and yet these girls are going in there. And you know, the thing about it is, you got the freshman players are contributing this year in the softball team, and you noticed how and you know, I do the games, how much the playing has climbed, has gone up. That tells you how great it is for the sports programs here. Since 2009, you had new athletic directors, you had new personnel come in here, and have paid attention to the sports scene as never before. And you, how many players all teams, all sports have gotten scholarships to colleges? You used to never hear that.
No, you never.
Now look at this. At least a dozen, 2 dozen maybe. Mm-hmm. They're all going to small schools, yes, but they're getting that
recognition and
the educational opportunities.
Right.
That's the way it is.
Well, a winning spirit is contagious. Mm-hmm. So when you have 1 or 2 programs that are continuing to build and get better, you know, we always talk about football, but girls softball has had the same level of success as the football team has the past few years. You know, the volleyball team has had immense success. The soccer team is even doing better. They're in the middle of their season right now too. So there's so many positives outside of the realm of football in regards to the entire athletic program as a whole, that are making great strides to be winners, and that's contagious. And a lot of those teams and players are starting to feel that, and it's causing them to perform at a higher caliber, and that's what it needs.
Yeah.
I mean, we needed something to really get that ball rolling.
Absolutely.
Now, and I'm not saying that football did that, because softball had more success before football really took off than football did.
Yeah.
Softball, I'm going back into the days of Lydia Ritchie.
Yeah.
That could pitch the ball.
Yeah.
In the high 60s, low 70s.
Oh, yeah.
Went to Berry College and then ended up at East Carolina, where she finished her career. You're looking at players like that, the Robertson twins when they played in that same time frame. Ashley Brown. I mean, we had outstanding softball teams.
Absolutely.
During those years.
Oh,
and this was way before Coach Tabor had his prominence in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say one team or the other started it, but the winning tradition, it started building during those years.
Right.
And it could be that girls softball might have kind of pushed that over the limit, saying, hey, let's get in here and let's actually play. We can win ball games regardless of what we're playing. We have the opportunity to do so. And then Tabor comes in and that keeps the ball rolling with the football team, and now you've got other teams that are getting on board and just coming up. I'm excited. It's a great time right now for Bledsoe County sports.
You look at you look at the programs now. When people thought about Valley football, they thought about South Pittsburgh and Marion County.
Mm-hmm.
They've gone to the sidelines. Now the premier rivalry in the Sequatchie Valley is Bledsoe Sequatchie.
Mm-hmm.
Since Marion and South Pittsburgh do not play anymore, and from what I'm hearing, they're not likely ever to play each other anymore on a regular basis. I think it's basically said we don't need each other. Fine. That sort of thing. Bledsoe Sequatchie was now the premier rivalry in the Sequatchie Valley, and obviously, Sequatchie County's up their game. They got the artificial turf on their football field, which allows them to multiply. I was talking to a Silverdale fan before the game, and he's talked about in the state of Texas, every high school football stadium has artificial turf because
it's hard to keep the grass alive.
Yeah. A lot of places don't have grass, so therefore they have to have artificial turf, that sort of thing. In fact, they say some of those out in West Texas, are surrounded by what was near desert.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only green you see,
right?
And that sort of thing. And I used to go to when I went to Alamogordo to visit my sister. She lived right next to the high school, and they had the stadium right there. She could just sit there, out there right by the porch and watch the game from that point on. That was how thinking in, and that was like that was dusty desert.
Yeah.
Out there, so it was like don't leave your windows down on your car, or else you're gonna have a foot high of dirt in your car. But the thing about it is TWA this year did not address certain things like the private school, public school thing, the separation, like they probably should have. They're trying to kick it down the road, I guess, and get that going. And probably after next year, they're going to do realignments again. They have to.
Yeah.
So tell them where Bledsoe will be after next year.
We'll probably be playing Peabody out in West Tennessee, the way TWA is. I mean, they've got us playing the district that we're in right now. I mean, southeastern Tennessee all the way up to the Kentucky border.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous. When you have other teams that are closer geographically,
like Monterey.
Why could we not have Monterey or even York? That would have made more sense than having Oneida. We're beating Oneida. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not complaining, but I mean, golly bum. I was looking at the schedule today, and I said we've got to drive on a Thursday night all the way almost to Kentucky.
Yeah.
And then come back home and work the next day.
And it's like it's like the curves. Like I went up there when I went up to Oneida. It's like like they were doing road construction, which I hope they got it done by now.
Sure.
Where he's like you're driving up to US 27, and that road was like 1920s design that they're trying to widen to 4 lanes and all that, and it's just like sort of like it's nowhere, and now it's somewhere. Like Sunbright went up to Sunbright one year. It was so torturous a trip that the transmission gave out on the team bus. It tells you how that was on a Monday night, and they because of the rainstorm they couldn't have the game on Friday night. And Bledsoe said, "Look, just bring your Sunbright team down here. You can count it as a home game." They wouldn't do it, and that was like that little dinky stadium.
Yeah,
that tells you. But the thing about it is that the programs now is that they talked about in Marion County consolidating all 3 schools: Whitwell, South Pittsburgh, Marion County. That'd be a 6A school.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and you of course you wouldn't.
Bradley Central would actually have a competitor, or even a district team that would be south of Alcoa and Knoxville. So most of their region games, they've got to hit 75 and go up to Knoxville and play because of the size of the school. I mean, it's not fair, but that's the way they do the numbers. But I couldn't see a team like the size of Bradley Central playing in our district.
No.
I mean, obviously those numbers are there for a reason, to separate the competition and to make it more competitive as far as the levels of what's the numbers I'm looking for? What I'm looking for, the amount of kids in the school.
Yeah, they look
enrollment. The number of the enrollment. The number of the enrollment. They try to keep it, based on that. So where you have a team or a school that has 400 to 500 kids is not playing a school that has a team that has a school of 2,000 kids. Yeah. It's not very good. It's not good competition.
You look at Ray County. Ray County won't play Bledsoe even though they border each other. Why? Because Bledsoe would probably go in and beat them.
Yeah.
And I remember Ray County when he came down and played softball with us. A lot of them grumbled that Bledsoe beat their team.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I heard plenty of it, and they just didn't. They weren't too appreciated about that. So
Well, that's just the way it goes. I mean, if you won't, one of the funniest things, and of course, it's not really has nothing to do with sports, but you remember Ric Flair used to say, "To be the man, you've got to beat the man."
Yeah, that's right.
And that holds a lot of weight. I mean, in order to be a high caliber team, mm-hmm. you've got to beat high caliber teams.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter what level you're on. I mean, there are times when our 2A and 3A, when we were going back and forth, there are times when our schools could go into other districts and beat a 5 and 6A school.
Right.
It's not unheard of. No. We beat Cumberland County. Cumberland County is a 5A school.
5A school, but
so you look at those things. Those South Pittsburgh can go and play a 3 and 4A school, a 5A school, and they're a 1A and beat them.
That's right.
So it's you can't just say, well, because they're a big school, we don't want to play them, or because they're a better team, we don't want to play them. Man, I can't believe Ray County would complain because they lost to Bledsoe County, even though they're a bigger school. Bledsoe, they come over here and get hit in the mouth. I can remember when we were playing football, we had a similar situation during camp. It was actually the last time that I remember Ray County being here. They may have been since, but when I was in school, that was the last time they had come, because you had a lot of people on our team that knew a lot of people from Ray County that came from Rigsby that knew the people.
Yeah.
So there was obviously some already animosity between the two teams. Mm-hmm. We get to the scrimmage and there's a fight breakout.
Yeah.
So they just finally said, "We're done. We're leaving. We're out of here."
Okay.
And that's. To my knowledge, they've not come back. I don't know if we've even scrimmaged them or anything. Or not, but,
of course, they play in the jamboree.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is now, first off, we're not knocking Ray County.
No,
most of them are pretty sharp
no.
people and very understand. Hey, you win some, you lose some. But there was just a few that complained.
Yeah.
And let me know it. Now, my take on it is that I held my tongue. And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry that we beat you," but that was the end of it. So,
any time your team loses, I mean, it's natural. It's natural to complain and find a reason why. And that's one thing that bothers me, and I've been guilty of it myself. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah.
When a team loses and you say, "Well, the referees called it this way,"
yeah.
We saw a lot of that in the Tennessee basketball this season, specifically in the SEC tournament, and specifically in the last game of the season with Kentucky, and then we played Purdue. I get it. that is a factor that determined the game, yes, but that did not determine the game as a whole. Anytime that you lose, you find a reason why. As a fan, you don't want to be like, okay, well, our team just got beat.
So,
because our team, it's so hard for us as competitors, as players, and as fans to look at our team and say, well, we just got beat tonight. It's always got to be something.
They lost a lot on errors by their team. They failed to feed the ball, that sort of thing. But let's go into other matters here. Of course, football season, spring practice. I talked to Coach Tabor last week. He said probably by early June we'll have everybody back off the spring sports, and they'll get ready for the football season to begin against Sequatchie County, which makes about as much sense as I've ever seen. We should play them in the middle of the season instead of the first of the season. But this will be at Pikeville, so I think it's that Sequatchie County cannot depend upon home cooking on that one. And of course, you got Cumberland County at Crossville, and let's face facts. The first 2 games of last year, we just started out shaky, and then managed to get things up and going. So that sort of thing. But football season is still a little bit away. They're going to, of course, get ready again in late July, early August. Get ready for the Jamboree. I think we'll probably be at Dunlap again this year. I don't know who the teams will be except Bledsoe and Sequatchie County. Might be the same teams we had last year: Warren County, Ray County, Grundy County, and that sort of thing. I think what the problem was with Marion County and South Pittsburgh going to play in a Chattanooga Jamboree instead of in a Valley Jamboree, which is just plain nuts. I mean,
Well, to them, it's we're playing in a more prestigious jamboree. It's a jamboree, for crying out loud. It's not like it's the Super Bowl.
No, it's not.
I mean, you're not going to get a better look in one quarter playing against a team who is potentially a higher perennial power as you would. You're going to get the same look. The Jamboree, you don't show anything anyway.
Yeah.
It's just to get your team a first taste for that year of game experience.
Right.
The vast majority of teams that go into Jamboree play their underclassmen.
Right, they do.
For one quarter, and they play their seniors for
That's right. Bledsoe did that last year.
That's just a common thing, and you can't judge it. And if Marion County and South Pittsburgh think that's going to set their season up better for a team like that to go over and play in Chattanooga, or if they want to drive all the way to Knoxville and play in a Jamboree,
that's their
big deal.
That's their
big deal, because with the Sequatchie Valley Jamboree is one of the more historically known jamborees.
It's the oldest state. It's the oldest jamboree in the state of Tennessee.
In this state, and if they want to leave that, that's up to them. I mean, they can do whatever they want to do.
I think part of their problem is that they're mad because the jamboree is not being played in their stadiums. It used to be at Marion County or South Pittsburgh all the time until Sequatchie County. Then they moved it around for a while. I know there are some people complained a little bit when they had to play at Bledsoe County that there was not enough seating. I'm sorry about that, but like I said, you can't have a 100,000 seat stadium built overnight in Pikeville. It just doesn't work that way. Okay, now everybody, we're going to go to a break, and then when we're back, we'll talk about the baseball season. We'll go ahead and switch that around a little bit. We'll talk about the Major League Baseball season, and Chattanooga Lookouts playing their last season in their in AT&T Field, and they're trying to change their names, believe it or not. And you be quiet. You be quiet. We want to surprise them. We want to surprise the watchers. And so don't blow this one away, or I'll bring the cat down here next as the next show's guest. Here on the Mike and Bradley Sports Scene here on Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative Channel 18.
Come and see the beautiful Sequatchie Valley. And while you're here, visit the Dunlap Mercantile. We have a full line of hats from Resistol, Stetson, Charlie One Horse, American Hat Makers, GG Pip, Greeley hats from the TV show Yellowstone, and a full line of vintage hats. Make sure to check out our hat bar where we can clean, shape, and customize a hat just for you, right here at the Dunlap Mercantile.
You need a bank that you can depend on. Here at Citizens Tri-County Bank, we have the most dependable staff that you will ever meet. Call in, you will not get an automated attendant, you'll get a person. But on the other side, we have all the technology that anyone would need, from apps to online banking to bill pay. So please come and grow with us as we're about to celebrate our 50th year. We are the only community bank you will ever need.
At Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter, we're committed to be better. Better prices, better vehicles, a better experience. Your Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter understands that you rely on us to provide you with the highest quality of used vehicles. With over 350 pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. So what are you waiting for? Let us show you a better experience with the Jason Lewis Automotive family. Come visit us at Rankin Avenue here in Dunlap or on the web at dunlapsupercenter.com.
Okay, we are back, and we're going to talk some baseball, Major League Baseball, and Southern League Baseball. First off, the Chattanooga Lookouts are going to change their name to the Wreckers for 2 nights to honor the person who invented the tow truck, and he's from Chattanooga. So at 8 April, you're going to see the Wreckers rather than the Lookouts coming out there. I knew Bradley was just saying that, no, they ain't going to change their name temporarily. I knew that, of course.
Man, I come in, that's the first thing you said, Chattanooga's going to change their name. The Lookouts,
no, the first thing I said was speak of the devil. That's what
and
first
I was like, that's only temporary.
The first thing I said was speak of the devil. That's what the first thing I said. But anyway, it's only going to be temporary, ladies and gentlemen. They're still going to, and this is going to be their final year in AT&T Stadium. They're going to, I don't know why they're moving out of that stadium. There's nothing wrong with it.
Well, according to baseball stadium standards, it's outdated. But it is one of the nicest stadiums that I've, as far as my
yeah,
league,
it's right next to the river
that I have been to. It's still in pristine condition. I mean, it needs a little, some paint and stuff on the stuff, on everything outside, but that's an easy fix.
It's very scenic. You can see the river from there. You can see the river from there. It's where's old Kirkman High School used to be. Old Kirkman Technical. When Buzzell used to play Kirkman in football in the 1960s and 70s before they tore it down to build AT&T Stadium. I don't know where their new stadium's going to be at. It is an Ingalls Stadium. Ingalls Stadium was a historic stadium.
If I'm not mistaken, it's down. You keep going past where AT&T Stadium is now, and when you see Finley Stadium on your left, it's on the right. Where Wheeling, not Wheeling Foundry, but it's where the Wheeling Foundry.
So it's not far from Finley Stadium.
They're demoing that and putting in a stadium and other shops to, I guess, enhance the baseball
I could see something about that. You know, that was an eyesore, and they're improving that, of course. And of course, the Lookouts. Oh, what's the status right now with the Lookouts at this point, Bradley?
I think last time I looked, they were third in the Southern League. But as far as records and things like that, I don't remember. But I haven't got to follow or even go watch them like I usually do. I usually go, a few times a year because they're just right here, But hadn't got to do that. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not changed that. Things are getting a little too busy for me. So we're going to have to go back a little bit and get back to the basics.
They're still affiliated with the Cincinnati Reds.
Yes, they are still with the Reds.
So with the Reds, I used to remember. Watching Nashville TV station used to have Cincinnati Reds baseball on, so they basically because the Nashville Sounds was also part of the Cincinnati Reds farm club. That's what minor league baseball is. Basically, it's a farm club for all the thing here as well. Of course, remember 50 years ago, and I know you weren't around, Bradley, but I was. Is that Hank Aaron broke the Braves home run record, 715 home runs. And the thing about Hank Aaron is he stayed with the organization the entire time he played professional baseball and afterwards, which is unusual for for a player. Now they bounce about every other game.
He did spend, I think it was at least 2 seasons at the very end of his career when he went back to Milwaukee to the Brewers.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of the time, it was the Braves. He was the Milwaukee Braves, then Atlanta Braves, and the last 2 years of his career, when he was still active, he played for the Brewers. But again, he was far in decline at that point.
Yeah.
Hammering Hank wasn't hammering very much.
He had 755 home runs. Of course, McGwire broke that some years ago.
Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds, excuse me. But the thing about it is that in 1974, there were a lot of people who were upset that he was going to break the Babe's record.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching him break that when they had it on. All the networks interrupted their programming to show this magical moment, which he did. He delivered, and they kept him out of the last home game so that he would break the record in Atlanta, which is what he did. And you wouldn't believe a lot of people got upset over that. They got upset over that. They wanted an asterisk, much like they did with Marge Maris, saying that basically, Babe was a white man, black man should not. I hate to bring up the racism part, but black man's mark, and actually had a lot of threats, and they had a lot of police presence in that stadium.
Sure.
And they had a couple of fans come down there and escort him around to the home run thing.
You look. This is not Hank Aaron, but if you look and watch the movie 42, the story of Jackie Robinson, you see racism is still, unfortunately, a part of it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah.
You still, regardless of what sport it is, and it's sickening to watch that movie and to see how people acted just because someone had a different skin color.
Yeah.
It's sickening to watch the Hank Aaron documentaries of the hate mail that he and the Braves organization got.
Yeah.
And the threats that he got because he hit 715 home runs. At that time, and it is utterly sickening. You can't look past that. We're past that, thankfully.
Yeah, we were past that.
To some extent. To some extent, we're not.
Okay.
We're still struggling in some areas. But
there was a quote by Babe Ruth's daughter, who said, "If my father was alive, he said he would be at the home run plate congratulating Hank for breaking his record." And they said that. Cut that right out. He said, if it's all right with Babe Ruth's family, it's all right with everybody else. And basically is that the thing about it was that night when he broke that, had a couple fans come down and escort him to the home plate.
Yeah.
That tells you what it was. There was such an excitement there. Even though the Braves weren't that good that year, that was the biggest thing. Because at that point, I was not a big baseball fan. I'm still not a big baseball fan, as a matter of fact.
Well,
I know enough to know that Babe Ruth is not a candy bar.
Well, somebody, we can't all be, good people. So
what's wrong with you?
It's America's pastime.
Well, it is America's pastime. But remember this: you got football. Also, got football sort of giving them a run for money.
I love football. Don't get me wrong. I love football. I love almost every sport. But there's something about. And I don't like it because they're making a lot of changes to the game of baseball.
Yeah.
The pitching clock. I want to talk about that in a second. But they've made a lot of changes with the rules of baseball, and the purity of the game is starting to dwindle because of the things that are going on with the game right now.
Yeah.
With the pitch clock, you can't shift anymore to cover the one side of the field. I mean, the gambling saga that's going on the West Coast, with everything that you've got going on with baseball right now, it is almost ridiculous because you really can't play the game anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like, get in there and play baseball and let's make it a game. But no, everybody takes it serious and they got all these other things that they're doing, and it just kind of, the purity of the game is not what it was.
Well, the thing about it is, things change, of course, and that sort of thing. Today where you can maybe pay them about $15,000-$20,000 a season is gone right now. You got multi-million-dollar players and that sort of thing. You look at, but you look at this way. I was listening to a sports program. They were talking about two teams who probably should not be in Major League Baseball today, and that's Tampa Bay and Miami, because they have low attendance. Their seasons are not good. Last I heard, I think it was Miami had start at 0-9 to start out.
Well, what's interesting though, Tampa Bay and Miami, yes, they have low attendance. So do the A's.
Yeah.
But
the A's, they were also talking about
Tampa
the A's
Bay
also.
competed for a World Series not too long ago.
Yeah.
They were pegged to go deep in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
Didn't quite pan out for them. The Oakland Athletics, they have the lowest attendance in baseball, and they're one of the more historically storied
they're going to Las
franchises.
Vegas, which means
And they are moving to Las Vegas, but you can't just look at your teams and be like, well, because you're not winning or because you don't have a lot of attendance, you don't belong.
Well, that's what they say. They said the Montreal's bidding to try to get a baseball team back. They lost their team to Washington, which became the Washington Nationals, which is doing all right, by the way. And it's how you look at all those things.
There's 3 teams that I have that have kicked around the idea of trying to keep in touch with these rumors and things going around. Montreal obviously is one that is lobbying for an expansion team.
Right.
They want to restore the Montreal Expos.
Right.
They want that back. The 2 teams, surprisingly, might be one of them, is Oklahoma City, because
that's a pretty good site right there.
Outside of Texas and St. Louis, that's their closest players. So,
Houston's also considered as Houston.
Right, you got Texas, the state of Texas, not
the
just
state
Texas.
of Texas, yeah.
Yeah, but and also one that I heard was Nashville. Nashville was in the mix to potentially land the Oakland A's. Matter of fact, they were in probably the final 3 as far as cities that were going to be picked. They chose Vegas, obviously, because of the geographical location was closer. It was, the market there was bigger. But Nashville is in the running to potentially land an expansion team, or if a team decides to move, it could be at least in my lifetime that we'll see a Major League Baseball team in Nashville. Now, if they do get one, I'm still going to chop.
Yeah.
I'm still going to chop. I'm still going to be a Braves fan through and through. But having a local Tennessee team that's just right up the road that we can go watch, that's just great for the state.
Well, it's like the Tennessee Titans. They're going to build a new stadium. So if Nashville gets a professional expansion team, what they could do is take the old Titans Stadium and modify that and convert that to a baseball stadium, and that would save you a few million right there. But the thing about it is with baseball is that right now it's still too early to decide who's going to win the pennant, who's going to be the division leaders and all that.
If you're judging right now, the Braves are first place, Albert's Dodgers are in the first place. Right now, the Yankees are finally performing the way they should, but it is so early in the season right now. And even with it being so early in the season, there's still, I told you I was going to mention the pitch clock. Read articles where they're trying to now kind of renege on that and come back and say, well, we don't need the pitch clock, because a lot of injuries to the pitchers are, of course, a human arm is not meant to throw a ball 104 miles an hour.
No.
But still, you've got the latest injury, Spencer Strider. That the injured, strained UCL, which could eventually lead to him getting Tommy John surgery again. And then you've got, Yuri Perez, Shane Bieber. They've been injured now. They're going to be sitting there for Tommy John surgery. Shohei Ohtani had some issues with his pitching arm. That's why he's just batting right now for Los Angeles. Jacob deGrom, Sandy Alcantara, all of those guys, Walker Buehler, all those guys who were, aces for their ball clubs, is having elbow problems. And one is overuse, but they're trying to lobby and say maybe the pitch clock is not giving their arm time enough to recover from the pitch before.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it could be. I don't know, but I think there is some data that will show that when there was a longer break between pitches, there were less injuries. Or less time spent on the injured list. And I understand both ways, but when you've got pitchers who are out there just hurling it,
Yeah.
over and over and over and
Yeah.
over, and being rushed and not giving their arm a time to respond or to recover.
Yeah.
Even from the first pitch before,
Mm-hmm.
you're rushing it. Overuse, you're going to have these injuries.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're going to have it. There's no doubt about it. Good news is for Spencer Strider, for those Braves fans out there that's watching and listening, Spencer Strider does have a strained UCL, and they're going to reevaluate him. I believe it's sometime the end of the week. So by the weekend or by the first of next week, the Braves should have an announcement as to exactly what's going to happen. And I'm afraid that it's going to probably be Tommy John surgery again.
Probably not.
I really do, because it's not torn. Last report I heard, it's not torn, but it is damaged, and they're going to give him 15 days to heal, and then see what happens. But they're probably looking at surgery again.
The thing about it is that, of course, let's talk a little about Tennessee baseball. Tennessee baseball right now, I think the number 4 team in the nation right now, doing awfully good. Of course, the coaching staff is doing a great job there, and they're from what I'm seeing is they're expected to be one of those that's going to be in Omaha this year.
Top 2 teams in the country right now are one of the top 2 teams, or 2 of the top 2 teams is Arkansas and Tennessee.
Yeah.
And Tennessee is 27-6.
Right.
They have won every series
Right.
that they've played.
Mm-hmm.
They have lost games to Alabama, to Georgia, Ole Miss,
And Auburn.
but still they've won the series. They've won the series 2-1. Arkansas, just looking at the stats, looking at just the SEC alone,
Yeah.
Tennessee has one of the most potent offenses in the SEC. They know how to swing the bat, they score a lot of runs, and they peck you to death, and that's how they've won most of their ball games. Arkansas, on the other hand, they have an outstanding pitching core and an outstanding defense.
Right.
Arkansas's won most of their games. They're number 1 in the nation, by the way.
Right.
But Arkansas's won most of their games on low-scoring ball games because it's hard to hit the pitchers and it's hard to get it through the infield because you've got the defenders that are so good with the glove. So having a team that's good on offense and a team that's good on defense, you're probably going to be looking at the 2 that's going to be playing for the SEC championship in the end of that after the tournament is over.
It probably will be.
It's probably going to be those 2 teams, and both of those teams, I believe, will make a deep run, like you said, to Omaha, to the World Series.
It's the irresistible force versus the immovable object,
Yeah.
as they so to speak. But
in
like a lot
every
of things
defensive
here,
category
everything
in the SEC, Arkansas is either 1, 2, or 3.
Absolutely.
And every offensive category, Tennessee is 1, 2, or 3. It's wild.
Absolutely, and of course, Tennessee's still got a little ways to go. They're halfway through their season. Okay, so when we come back, we will have we'll talk about college basketball, the college sports. We got a little bit of a preview just seconds ago. We'll talk about the new hires and surprise, a couple of resignations in college basketball as you're watching the Mike and Bradley sports scene here on the Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative Channel 18 and WAT AM 1110.
Support small business and shop DunlapMercantile.com.
A good bank has people you can depend on, people who grew up here and can handle today's issues and growing technology. Here at Citizens Tri-County Bank, this is the way we've served the community for almost 50 years. Ready to help you in person, online, and on our app whenever you need it. Choose the bank that cares about you. Citizens Tri-County Bank, the only community bank you'll ever need.
At Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter, we're committed to be better. Better prices, better vehicles, a better experience. Your Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter understands that you rely on us to provide you with the highest quality of used vehicles. with over 350 pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. So what are you waiting for? Let us show you a better experience with the Jason Lewis Automotive family. Come visit us at Rankin Avenue here in Dunlap or on the web at dunlapsupercenter.com.
Okay, everybody, we are back, and we're going to talk about college athletics and some big surprises coming out of the basketball season. We know very well that South Carolina's lady has won the national title, perfect record, 39-0. Dawn Staley to be congratulated on her achievement, second national title for South Carolina, a team which 10 years ago had nothing.
Right.
That tells you how. And she's worked for Pat Summitt, so she's a Pat Summitt disciple. So it tells you how they win by the Summitt method. And of course, Stanford's legendary head coach of the Stanford Lady Cardinals is stepping down, retiring after 36 years. She passed Pat Summitt in a number of wins, but she doesn't seem to get the same amount of attention that Pat Summitt gets. But we do wish her well on her retirement. In the men's side of it, we have a remember last year I told you Nick Saban was going to step down at the end of the season, and I was right, and everybody said I was wrong. I probably said the same thing about Calipari. Calipari, pretty tired of 15 years of listening to the griping of Kentucky fans at Rupp, has decided to go on and be coach at Arkansas, another SEC, who lost their coach to Southern Cal. And get this, he's doing it for a pay cut. $5.5 million per year, $1.5 million less than he was making at Kentucky, and obviously decided that they as he said, they needed new blood in Lexington, and after 15 seasons decides to jump to this. Arkansas has got to pay a $33 million buyout to the University of Kentucky, and all I gotta say, right, Calipari better start to win it at Fayetteville, or
he won't last long if he don't.
Or else there's gonna be a lot of sueys, hogs
kicking around a lot of ideas. I mean, as far as men's college basketball, everybody's focused on Kentucky right now to find out who they're going to get to pick to fulfill that role that Calipari left. To go to Arkansas with.
You already had 2 or 3 turndowns on that deal already.
Several turndowns, yeah. They've talked. They mentioned Bruce Pearl was at the top of the list. He's fell down the list. I don't think there's a mutual interest there. They went after Nate Oates, the head coach of Alabama's basketball team, and he said basically no thanks, but no thanks. I don't want to do that. I'm committed to Alabama. The top pick, as far as what odds are concerned, is Scott Drew from Baylor. And also Billy Donovan. You may remember him. He used to coach at Florida.
He won 2 national titles at Florida.
He did, and now he is the head coach of the Chicago Bulls. Aspiring for an NBA championship, but it is possible that he would give that up to come back to coach at a place like Kentucky. That's just the way Billy Donovan is. Surprising to me, there were 2 people on that list that were considered to be Kentucky favorites to land the Kentucky job. One was the elder Pitino, Rick Pitino, who coached many years at Louisville, who was arch rivals of Kentucky.
But he coached at Kentucky beforehand.
He's on the list. Yeah. But his son, Richard Pitino, coach of New Mexico, is also on that list. It's just going to be interesting. That Dan Hurley from UConn, who just won the national title, they were actually kicking his name around. And I'm not sure that he's going to want to leave the dynasty that he's built at UConn right now. He's
just won a national championship.
I think he's wanting to ride that a little further.
Purdue's head coach is also on that list, also because his team got into that national championship game, and of course, for those who are interested in the polls, Tennessee finished 5th in the national poll. Alabama finished 3rd Okay. Auburn finished 8th, and Kentucky finished 20th. So you had 4 SEC teams finished in the top 25. Now, let's look at it this way. Bradley, I'm going to tell you this. Kentucky fans are notorious for being loud about their basketball team. They're not as loud about their football team, but that's understandable.
Well, Kentucky's been a basketball school for years. I mean, that's just the way it is. The same way that people look at Alabama as being a football school. They look at Florida for being at one time was a baseball school.
Right.
I mean, you look at all these things that goes along. I mean, you associate those winning programs with the school, saying, well, that's what their primary thing is.
Right.
And yeah, it's the people who are fans of those programs, of those sports. They let it be known when they're dissatisfied.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, case in point with Tennessee and football. I mean, all the coaching changes that we had, we was very hard for us to give a coach a chance, after Fulmer, because Fulmer won the Natty, and brought us a title, and we thought that was going to be an every year thing, and he had an off year, and everybody's like, he's done, we need to be out of here. Then we had this dilemma, and now we have Heupel, who's performing well. But you look at historically speaking, anytime a coach does bad or has an off year, not necessarily does bad, but has an off year, you have got a select few out of that fan base calling for their head.
Absolutely.
They want him out of there because they don't like to lose. They want to win every ball game they play, and it's just not going to happen like that unless you're Alabama or Georgia. This is not going to happen like that.
You look at Oklahoma. Oklahoma when they had Barry Switzer there in the 1970s. He went 25-0-1 before he lost his first game at Oklahoma, and he had a fan call up and say, "I knew that we hired this guy. He was going to lose the game. Get rid of him." And that tells you how it was. Johnny Majors once made a comment. He said, "I can do more than most people in coaching football, but it may not be enough at Tennessee." And he was right. Because he won 116 games at Tennessee. He never got close to a national title because basically they expected too much out of him.
Yeah.
In fact, his own family told Majors, "Don't go to Tennessee. Stay at Pittsburgh, where you have a shot at winning another national title." But he had to come back because it was an ego thing.
Yeah.
It's like Bear Bryant. You look at Alabama. When Bear Bryant stepped down in 1982, they got in Ray Perkins. Now, Ray Perkins was a capable coach who was at New York Giants at the time. And what did he do? He fenced everybody left and right because he can't handle people.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, they brought in Bill Curry, who coached and played at Georgia Tech. He didn't coach under the Bear. People got on him because, you didn't coach or play for Bear Bryant. Yeah, for a while you were there. They got Gene Stallings. Well, he was the closest to the Bear they had. Won a national title, but he got his team in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Then so on and so forth until they came upon Nick Saban. Nick Saban didn't care about the legend of Bear Bryant. That was not his problem. He wanted to coach.
You see, I think going back to college basketball, in that same mindset, I think that's what's going to help the new coach for Lady Vols.
Right.
Because you look at, when you are when you're in a program that has had such a storied success like Alabama Nick Bryant,
right.
Bear Bryant,
right,
or Tennessee Lady Vols and Pat Summitt,
and Adolph Rupp at Kentucky.
I mean, even Tubby Smith at Kentucky.
Yeah.
I mean, when you are following a successful program headed by one coach,
yeah,
it's very difficult because, especially if you played under him, because that was one of the things that I thought Holly Warlick got an unfair bid, because anybody who replaced, or not really replaced, but took over the helm after Pat Summitt was not going to be good enough.
Well, the thing about it is that with Holly Warlick, that she the last year that Pat Summitt was coach, she was doing the coaching because Summitt was suffering from the dementia that she was having, and then. And though Pat Summitt wanted to keep coaching, she realized she just couldn't do it. So basically, that she dropped out. Holly Warlick got the job. Now let's face it back about Holly Warlick. She could coach, but she couldn't recruit.
She was a good coach. She couldn't recruit. But the thing about Holly Warlick too that hurt her was all of those years that she was Pat Summitt's assistant. Pat Summitt would be the mean, stern coach that tore you down.
Yeah.
That just looked at you and paralyzed you with her stare.
Yeah.
And Holly was the nurturer. She would pull you aside and say, okay, here's what we got to do. And that worked so well for so many years.
Yeah.
And for her to step into the role as head coach, she had to let that go, and she couldn't.
She had to be Pat
So
Summitt.
she had to be a stern, this is how it's going to be, or you're not going to play, and she didn't have that. So that hurt her too. But she did get an unfair deal because anybody that come after Pat Summitt was going to have a struggle. And then you had Kelly Harper that came after Holly Warlick, who was a Pat Summitt product, kept playing under her as Kelly Jolly.
Yeah.
We remember her.
Yeah.
And with her playing for Pat, playing under Pat, and with Coach Warlick coaching under Pat and playing under Pat, you expect them to have the same game plan, the same mindset, the same scheme, same everything as Pat Summitt. It's not going to happen.
No.
That's why when they did get rid of Kelly Harper and they had a vacancy.
Yeah.
That's why when one of the names that came up was Kara Lawson from Duke.
Yeah.
Who was also a former Pat Summitt player. I mean, I nothing against Kara Lawson. I mean, she's a good person, good player, but good coach. But I'm glad that Danny White went outside.
He decided that, okay, it's time to rethink the thing. It's like with Alabama. 25 years they kept trying to find another Bear Bryant and they couldn't find one. Finally they got somebody who was not a Bear Bryant yet knew how to win and won. It's the same thing. You look at Caldwell, Kim Caldwell. She won at lower level schools national championship. She was at Marshall. They had one of the most highest rated offenses and defenses in the country. And it was only 1 year at Marshall. Then she comes into Tennessee and she's going to get paid about $4 million a year, which is a lot of money, and she knows what to expect. Now, I don't know about the players who are going to be there, how they're going to. She's probably met with them. She's probably laid out what she needs, what they need to know, and what they're going to do, and what they're expected to do. But I would say with Coach Caldwell, the fans need to give her a little breathing space. Don't be surprised if she only wins 20 games in a regular season, because let's face it, we got talent, but it's right. but they have to adopt her methods, not the other. It's like Coach Tabor said when he told the players, "I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to be your coach." That's a good thing to have. But
I think that's going to be one thing in her favor is that she's not under the umbrella. I mean, yes, she is coaching at Tennessee. And what many say, well, women's basketball at Tennessee is the house that Pat Summitt built.
Right.
I get it.
Yeah.
But because she didn't play for Pat, and because she didn't coach under Pat Summitt, there's a level of pressure that is not on her that was on Holly Warlick and Kelly Harper.
Right.
With that being said, if it was up to me, Kelly Harper would still be the coach.
Right.
It's not up to me.
No.
But now that we have someone that we have hired, I'm behind them 100%, and I think that she's going to be, because she doesn't have as much pressure on her to live up to those standards, having played under it and coached under it. She has a little bit more breathing room.
Yeah,
I
she's
believe.
got
a little bit more time, a little bit more openness. So we'll just fill her out and see if she's going to succeed or not. Give her a chance. And again, like you said, I agree with you. You're not going to be able to judge her caliber of coaching by 1 year. I mean, you're going to have to. Basketball is much like baseball, football, and any program. Give the coach about 2 to 3 years to implement their system, to recruit the players that works well with their system, so that you can succeed. If Kelly Harper would have had a better idea of recruiting and how to recruit and getting good players in, she'd still be the coach at Tennessee.
She would probably would.
But that's one thing that she lacked. That's one thing that Holly Warlick lacked. So I'm hoping that this, Kim Stevens Caldwell, when she comes in, I'm really hoping that she can build a good recruiting base to bring people in, because even though Tennessee is not the stellar program that they were, they're still one of the marquee programs in the nation. The history is there. I mean, they're still thought of when you think of great programs. I'm not talking about records or success, but when you mention great programs of women's basketball, you can't not mention Tennessee. You know, you can't ignore Tennessee Lady Vols when you mention, you know, the likes of the story programs like UConn or Stanford or Notre Dame,
right?
You know, teams like that. You have to mention Tennessee in the top two.
Well, you know, remember Pat Summitt, when she came head coach, she was 22 years old. She was supposed to be an assistant, but the coach they had decided that she wanted to go to a desk job, and so she got it, and she built that program up from scratch when they didn't have anything, and they, you know, and she took her years to win the first national championship, and then it just rolled on because she knew how to recruit. She knew exactly how to.
You have to understand too. If you go back and look at Pat Summitt's win-loss record on first 4 years of her career, first 4 years of her coaching career. You take that same record and put it in 2024. She's fired 4 years.
Yeah, but like I said,
you've got to give these coaches time.
That's right.
You know, don't lose faith in them. Have as much faith in the coaches as you have in the actual team. You know, get behind them in the same way.
You look at Johnny Majors. When his first 4 years at UT in the 70s, you had 4-7, 5-5-1, 7-5-5-6. Okay, today that gets you fired. But everybody has patience because they knew Johnny was building up the program, and that was including a big win over Notre Dame and over Auburn. But you know, I have to remember this right now, is that Pat Summitt didn't have a lot of competition. Most of the schools that were out there were just building their programs and didn't.
Well, that's not true now.
Now, you know, you had Louisiana Tech, you had Stanford, but that was
Louisiana Tech, Stanford, UConn. You had, you had teams that were premier teams that they played every single year in the regular season, and then played them again
in the
in the tournament.
Right.
So I mean, the competition was there. You can't say that Pat didn't have any competition.
Well, you know, a lot of the teams that were just like building, so the competition was not up top notch. Is, you know, I'm talking about. Of course, we didn't play UConn or Louisiana Tech every year in the very beginning, but when she started winning, she forced these schools to suddenly jack up their programs. You know, you look at Dawn State of South Carolina 10 years ago; they didn't have anything. They hire her to jack up the program they have, and you also look at UConn. You know, I can't mention the guy's name. Ariema brought that up. So it's how you look at it. Now we're going to go to football here. Now, of course, spring practice is just about concluding for Tennessee. They're going to have their orange and white game Saturday afternoon at Neyland. Only 10,000 fans will be allowed in there. You have to buy the tickets beforehand because they're doing construction at Neyland Stadium. They could have moved it to Chattanooga or to Middle Tennessee State or Tennessee Tech and done the game there, but that's the decision to make. And of course, it'll be on the SEC Plus network, or you can listen to it on the Vol network. Of course, you got the new quarterback, Nico. Don't ask me to pronounce this right in the last name yet.
I won't take a stab at it. Emalieva.
Yeah, you got that. Emalieva.
And
you know,
that's close.
He took over in the Citrus Bowl and got to be MVP. Proved that he can play the game. Obviously, Tennessee fans just ecstatic that they're going to have a third great quarterback playing for Tennessee in 3 years. Of course, you had, you know, the last two, you know, who did really, really well. And I think, you know, Hendon Hooker and Joe and Miller. And I will tell you something right now. Nico is just going to be a sophomore. He's got a lot of things, and obviously he can do a lot of things.
Well, he's a freshman.
He's redshirt freshman.
Yeah, he didn't burn his red shirt.
So not give him a redshirt freshman.
So he's got
4 years.
He's got 4 years. Even though he's played last year on the roster, he's got 4 years to play if he stays healthy and decides to play those 4 years. And quite frankly, they're being one of the top prospects top recruits from 2024.
Yeah,
has already committed to Tennessee.
Yeah,
and the one that's coming in 2025
is his younger brother
in the top 5 recruits of that class has committed to Tennessee.
So
you've got what I'm not going to say Tennessee is quarterback you.
Yeah.
But I am going to say that some of those players, I'm sure, will transfer out.
Oh yeah.
But needless to say, there's something magical happening. If you're a Tennessee fan, that's the word I'm going to use. There's something magical happening in Knoxville right now.
Right.
As far as the football team is concerned, how that a lot of these marquee players are, to even transfers, are looking to come to Tennessee.
Right.
Even the other players that see how Josh Heupel, it would if I was a quarterback, or if I was a wide receiver, there wouldn't be any question if I had the ability to compete and I had an offer from Tennessee where I would go, because of the high octane performance that he does and portrays out there. They're throwing the ball all over the field. You're going to get boo goodles of passing yards or receiving yards. So and all that's going to do is, as you continue to play and dominate at that level, that's going to just increase your chances of a potential Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
Because the numbers are just going to be so astronomical. So you're looking at this program, not just Tennessee, but there's other programs right now that are building too.
Yeah.
That you look at as a recruit, depending on what what position you play, and you're drooling because you're like, man, I want to be part of that.
This is suddenly of course the SEC has decided that 2025 they're going to stick to the 8-game league schedule, which means basically Alabama, Tennessee, and other schools. Of course, Tennessee hosts Oklahoma. Missouri and South Carolina is not on the schedule, so we're not playing them next year, as we are not playing them this year. So obviously the SEC decided right now going to 9-game conference schedule is just not feasible for them, because you'd have to start breaking up the thing. Again, they're going with the top 2 teams in the SEC playing the SEC championship game rather than divisions. You won't see divisions this year, and that sort of thing. But speaking of this, Doug Dickey used to say when he took over as head coach, he said the first thing he did was recruit as many quarterbacks as he could, because he felt that some of them would go on and play other positions. You look at Steve Kiner, the defensive back. He was recruited as a quarterback at Tennessee, but he became a defensive back. And of course, the guy who made the infamous comment about the mules, he said that statement, even though Tennessee was injured, including Kiner, that really didn't matter, because Ole Miss fans were just ready to tear into Tennessee that year in the infamous Jackson Massacre and that sort of thing. You of course remember this, right? A good coach will always plan for the long term, not just this year.
Right.
You look at Coach Tabor; he plans for the long term. That's what gets him to win. 42 wins.
Yeah, if you're not, as a coach at any level, if you're not looking 3 to 4 years down the road, then you're not doing it right.
He played a lot of freshmen last year, I seem to recall.
Yeah.
He got them that experience they needed. And be honest with you right now, is that if they had played Sequatchie County and York Institute a little later in the season, Bledsoe would be 11-0. They would not be 9-2.
Very possible.
So I would say that. Okay, everybody. Bradley, you got some final words to say, because we're going to be heading out.
Well, I will remind you. I don't know if
go Cubs.
No, don't do that. If you have a chance tomorrow night, those who are listening now and those who may see this before, Bledsoe is hosting Sequatchie Play softball tomorrow night. They're hosting Van Buren at 6, I think, maybe 7, up on the hill, just away from the softball team. And the men's soccer, they're playing at Sequatchie tomorrow night. So
that's
plenty of things to do right here in this area tomorrow night. And that's it. No, it's 6 o'clock. 5:30 for the softball,
right.
7 for the baseball, right. And it's 6 o'clock for the soccer. I believe that's correct. If it's not correct, don't blame me. Look it up. it's out there. But those 3 games are going to be played tomorrow night. And get out there and support your teams.
You go see the softball game and then the baseball team after
you can see, you can see those just boom, boom. I don't know if you can get the Dunlap before in between. It's going to be hard to do that, but you can at least see those 2 things here in Pikeville tomorrow night. And as always, I close out. Go Blue, go Braves, and go Big Orange.
Okay, and lastly, because he said tomorrow night, Bledsoe County softball team will be hosting Sequatchie County in a district matchup. We're going to have the broadcast of that game for you on WAT with pregame at 5:20 and the first pitch at 5:30. The boys team will be hosting Van Buren County tomorrow night. That'll be a 7 o'clock first pitch. And then, of course, you said the soccer team here. So we'll be back in 2 weeks, we hope, as Bledsoe County will touch more about the about sports, whatever it is, even tiddlywinks, if you think that's sport. As you're watching the Mike and Bradley sports scene here on Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative Channel 18, WAT AM 110. Good day, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Brought to you by Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative in the Sequatchie Valley.